I want you to get to know Bob a bit better because he's such an amazing person. He's so authentic, and his sole objective in life is to help as many people as possible to live the life that they want to live. And you know what? That's what he's been studying and working at for the past 52 years. That's longer than I've been alive. It's longer than many of you have been alive. Now, first I'm going to start out with some questions for Bob. So here we go. Bob, how did your childhood shape your views on life?
I want to remind you it's not much longer than you've been alive. So don't play that child game with me.
Hey, who's counting?
How did what?
How did your childhood shape your views on life?
My views on life were totally screwed up until I was 26. I was born during a depression. And when I was 5 years old, the Second World War started. And so my dad and all the other dads in the neighborhood all went over to Europe and started to fight a war. And so there was no fathers around, and it was, everybody was scratching, just trying to get by. So, I mean, there was no really focus on the kids and shape their mind. I mean, it was more of a deal, I think, for the mothers to try and put bread and butter on the table. So, you know, I grew up in a pretty small world until I was 26. And the idea of winning or the idea of prosperity, that belonged to other people, not to us. We would refer to rich kids where they had a phone in their house. And if they had a car, they were very, very rich. They did not belong in our neighborhood. So my childhood really didn't have anything to do with the way I'm living now. It had a lot to do with how much I appreciate the way I'm living now. Mm-hmm. But I had to really totally reshape what's going on in here.
So what are some of the key ideas that had to be reprogrammed for you to really go out there and make it happen?
Well, I think the biggest thing that had to be reprogrammed is that most of what we're taught is not true. We're raised with a bunch of information that's false. We're raised with the idea, the biggest thing for me was that if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I started earning a lot of money, and I knew I wasn't very smart. Another huge concept in our mind was if you're going to get a good job, the idea of having your own company was totally out of the park. But if you're going to get a good job, you've got to have a great formal education. I had 2 months high school. I didn't like school. Nobody taught me to like learning. And so I didn't have any formal education. And so the idea of maybe getting a good job or having a good position, you know, it was for other people. But I found myself owning a company that operated in 7 cities in 3 different countries, earning over $1 million a year. And I think I was so shocked with what was actually happening to me that I've spent from then till now trying to figure it out.
Well, I mean, it is shocking. It's like you went from going downhill in your own words and gaining speed to operating all over the world. That's phenomenal. Yeah. What role did mentors play in that?
Mentors played a huge role. Mm-hmm. And listening, you know, like we're promoting 6 Minutes to Success, listening to material literally changed my life. I should have brought it with me. I have a record player at home, a little portable record player. And I have a record on my mantle in my office. Earl Nightingale's condensed narration of the book Think and Grow Rich. And I drove around with a battery-operated record player playing that record over and over and over. When I first heard it, I was so absolutely fascinated with what he was saying that I couldn't stop listening to it. And I got addicted to listening to what he was talking about. Now keep in mind, I was listening to the same record over and over and over again. Little did I realize I was reprogramming my mind with Earl Nightingale's philosophy. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I was doing the very best thing I could do for me at that time. And nobody taught me to do it. So I choose to believe we're guided. I think we're guided. And I believe somebody guided me to do this. And it literally changed my life.
Well, that repetition is such a huge part of it. And school would teach you to not go back and keep repeating the same thing.
School actually, they do it in a roundabout way, and it's not deliberate, but they do not teach repetition. In fact, they teach that repetition is not necessary and is only for slow learners. Now, they don't say that, but that's the impression that you pick up. And yet, repetition is the first law of learning. It is the very first law of learning. If you want to learn something, you want to reprogram your mind, you've got to get involved in repetition. Now, there's only one other way, and that's an emotional impact. Just boom, something very, very dramatic, like a death of a loved one or a horrible accident or something. It's usually negative. It can be positive, because everything that's negative can be positive. It's the law of opposites. But repetition is vitally important. You know, if you're listening right now, and you may be happy enough with your life, but you would really like it to be a lot better than it is, you've got to get involved in repetition. Repetition of information that's going to support the lifestyle that you're imagining. And if you don't, you'll probably keep doing what you're doing, keep getting the same results.
So what were some of the earliest successful things that you did that came about because of your willingness to repeat all that information?
Well, I think the first thing that happened, see, I was broke all the time. I mean, I never had any money. You could buy 5 gallons of gas for $2. And I was forever looking for $2 to get 5 gallons of gas. The idea of filling the tank was, you know, it just wasn't around. So I was always broke. I was earning $4,000 a year, but I owed $6,000. Now, $6,000 you say is not a lot of money. If you're only earning $4,000, that's a lot of money. And I didn't know it all in one place. I owed it all over the place. So everybody was, where's the money, where's the money? And I used to think I was going to go crazy. I didn't know where the money was. I was working as hard as I could. And so the real stumbling block for me was money. And I never really thought of having a lot of money. The idea maybe of getting out of debt was a dream. But I was given this book. I read this every day. It's you've seen it, it's well beaten up, but it's Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And I started to read this, and the man that gave it to me, he said, if you do exactly what I tell you, until you find out I'm lying, or that I don't know what I'm talking about, he said, your life will change. Now, he said, I don't lie, and I do know what I'm talking about. I sat with a young man in my home last week, and he was a bright young guy. He earns over $1 million a year. He's only 21. And he wanted to know if I thought he could take it much higher. I said, you even know you can take it higher. And I'm toying with the idea of coaching him one-on-one. I don't do a lot of that. But I told him, I said, if you do exactly what I tell you, until you find out I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you how to earn multi-millions. Because anybody can, and I think he knows it. I think he knows it inside. What he needs is support. You see, I had the support of a man that saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. And I really didn't believe that I could earn a lot of money. I don't think I even wanted to earn a lot of money. I just wanted to earn enough to take the heat off. But he said, do exactly what I tell you. And one of the things was, he said, read this every day. He said, Napoleon Hill studied 500 of the world's most successful people. And he put their philosophy, he said there was a golden thread running through their life. And he put it in this book. So he said if he spent his whole life studying them, and putting this philosophy together, I think it would be a prudent move on your part if you spent your whole life trying to understand and apply what he's put in here. And so that's what I've done.
So you've been reading that book for 52 years. And I think it'd be really interesting for people to hear, like, what kinds of jobs were you doing when you started reading this book, and then how did that evolve over the next year and 2 and 3 and 4 years?
Well, I was prepared to do anything honest to earn money. I was, I don't think I've ever answered this question before. I was on the fire department, so it was a great job to have other jobs because you're 24 on, 24 off. You have a lot of time off. I started working in a variety store for the man who was my father-in-law. He's gone now, for $1 an hour. And I told him it was to help him out. It was for the $1 an hour. I was making flower boxes that you could hang on the apartment balconies.
Really?
And I was selling them. I started cleaning floors, and I was painting houses.
Gee.
I thought the answer was more work. Now, I actually learned working is the worst way to earn money. But I had all these jobs. I would go from one to the other. And one day I decided that cleaning floors was where I was earning the most money. So I thought, that's what I'm going to do. So I eventually quit all the other jobs, and it was a tough thing to do because I was earning money at them. And I started cleaning floors. And I thought the answer was get another office to clean. And one day I passed out on the street, and I woke up and I look up and there's a great big cop looking at me. And then I saw a crowd of people around me. It was scary. I guess somebody thought I had died. And then I saw a couple of guys with stretchers. And of course they were going to take me to a hospital. And I regained consciousness, and I finally talked them out of taking me to the hospital. I talked the police out of leaving me, and I took off. And I sat down and I thought, there's something I'm doing that's wrong. Now, in this book, he said, if you're one of those people who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring riches, perish the thought it's not true. He said, riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based on definite principles and not by chance or luck. I had to make definite demands, and I had to follow definite principles. Now, I was really studying this, and of course I had the help of my mentor, my coach. And I went away and I sat down, and I thought, I'm doing this wrong. And something, it was like a little voice in my head said, if you can't clean all of them, don't clean any of them. So I got all dressed up, and I got other people cleaning offices. And you know, in less than 5 years, I was cleaning offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. Now, you say, well, how did you pick those cities? I don't know. I just arbitrarily picked them. I always wanted to find out what England was like, so I went and opened a company. And that's the way I was operating. And I was so busy doing what I was doing, I wasn't paying attention to what I was earning. And one day, the lights come on, and I settled down, and I realized I was earning a lot of money. And that's when I started to think, a lot of things I've been taught are not true. See, we're raised with the idea, and I don't know as anybody tells us this, but it's certainly implied that there's some people that are better than others. You would know this better than me, but society in general think that men are more valuable than women. Women earn about 70% of men. Now, for the life of me, I never figured that out. Women pretty well run our company. As you know, you're running it with a bunch of other women. But people are essentially all the same. Like, I work all over the world. So I work in China and Russia and Asia and South America and North America and Europe. And I have found the only difference in one place and another is the culture. And culture's habit. Culture's nothing but group habit. And when you get past the group habit or the culture, people are essentially the same.
Bob, I want to come back to something you said. You said that working is the worst way to earn money. I mean, for most people, when you hear that, you think, what? What is he talking about? When you started developing your cleaning business, did you stop working in the concept you're talking about?
Well, no. I'm working right now. If we look at society's concept of going to work. But I love what I'm doing. I mean, I just love what I do. I love working at this. So I think you're working when you're doing something you don't really enjoy. When you don't really want to go there. When if somebody said, listen, whatever you're earning, we'll give you the money, just stay home, do whatever you want. I think most people stay home and do whatever they want. I don't think people are doing what they really love doing when they think of how to spend their days. Like, I spend my days doing what I absolutely love, and that's the work I'm involved in. So I think work is when you're doing something that you don't really love. When you love doing it, you never have to work again.
You know,
that's the difference.
That makes me think, you always get the question, how do you get balance in your life? And that ties into what you're talking about.
Well, balance is a bunch of jazz. I mean, you hear people talk about balance, and it's usually some philosophical thing that they've got involved. You know, you should work for 8 hours, sleep for 8 hours, play for 8 hours. Well, if I was sleeping for 8 hours and playing for 8 hours, I'd be so out of balance because I'd be so damn unhappy. I think you're balanced when you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
Hell, I'm 80 on my next birthday, and I'm as healthy as a horse, and I'm going like a rocket. So, I mean, I must be reasonably well balanced. I think you're balanced when you spend your days doing what you love to do.
Okay, so you were back, you developed this worldwide cleaning business. How did you segue from that into personal development?
I woke up one day, I put my feet on the floor, and I said, I'm not going back there anymore. I realized the business was doing very well. But it was doing well because I never talked to the cleaners about cleaning. I would talk to them about what their goal was, how much they wanted to earn. I subcontracted everything. I didn't have any hourly paid cleaners. I did that at first, then I realized that wasn't a good way to do it. So I would put people in the cleaning business. I managed it. It was all under my company. So I was working with entrepreneurs back in the 60s in a number of different cities and in different countries. And I talked to them about their goals. I'd give them Earl Nightingale's records. And I would be on the phone talking about their goals. We would have meetings and getting people excited about themselves. I was doing then what I'm doing now. Every now and then I got interrupted with cleaning. And I realized that cleaning offices was almost incidental to what I was doing. I was involved in this business. And I woke up one day and I thought, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to work in this business. I'm going to go to work with Earl Nightingale.
So what did you do when you first got into it?
I wanted to work with Nightingale Conan, and they said the only way you can work with us is to become a distributor. And so, okay, I'll become a distributor. I bought a distributorship. I think it was $5,000. This was well back in the mid-'60s. And I had a whole bunch of records and books. I thought I better learn how to sell this or I'm going to eat it. And that's how I got into this business. But I became very successful at selling it. First of all, I was going around, I was trying to sell records of a man talking to you. Now, the public were interested in records where people sang to you. And you could buy a big record, a long playing record, for 75 cents. I was selling 12 small records for $250. People were looking at me like I was crazy. And so finally one day it dawned on me. I heard Elmer Wheeler on a record. He was a great speaker. And he said, people don't buy quarter-inch drills because they want quarter-inch drills. They buy quarter-inch drills because they want quarter-inch holes. Ding, ding, ding. He said, sell the sizzle, not the steak. So I put the records away, and I went out and I started to talk to people about what they wanted. I said, I can show you how to get it. And then I talk to them about listening to this. This is a philosophy. It's a philosophy to live by. Your way is not working. Take a look at how you're living. It's not giving you the results you're getting. And of course, that's what you're doing right now. If you're watching me right now, are you getting the results you want? And most people are not. Well, I told them then, I'll tell you now, if you can tell me what you want, I can show you how to get it. And I can, and I don't care who you are or what you're doing.
So you were out there, really that was the start of the personal development industry when you were getting into it. But as you were out there getting into this industry yourself, were you investing in yourself? When did you start really investing in yourself?
I started investing in myself when I bought this book. I've always invested money in myself. You know, if a person would invest, I don't know, maybe 3% of their time and 3% of their income in themselves, they would never have to look back. You would just be looking ahead all the time. Now, I started to do it, and I don't think I thought I was investing in myself. I was getting addicted to listen to this because it made me feel good. You see, boredom is the absence of a creative idea. These were creative ideas, and it made me feel really good. So I started investing in myself many years ago, and I still do. I'm always buying programs to listen to, and hell, not too long before Bill Gove died, I would pay him $5,000 to sit down with him for a few minutes and figure I was lucky getting time with him.
Yeah. Well, let's give everyone some free gifts. Our team has some free gifts for you. We've got some files that we're going to put on the screen right now for you. And I want you to download them as soon as you can. They're only going to be on there for about 10 minutes, so download them. And they're these really valuable tools, and in particular, one of the tools is a goal card. And it's just a little card, but it is so powerful. I've used it for every single, you got one with you? Right here.
I carry this. That's what I wrote when I decided the card. The first secret was decide what you want. I was going to have $25,000 in my possession by New Year's Day of 1970. Now, I wrote that in the card in 1961. I didn't believe it would happen. Within a year, I was earning $175,000 a year. We'll talk about why the goal card works a little later.
Yeah, because I've used it for every goal that I have set since I first saw Bob Proctor live. Gosh, it was 7 years ago, and everything in my life has changed since then. So be sure to download these tools. And